Friends, hi, Doc South here. I'm going to do another episode of Millie's Itinerary. I've got a face full of Novocaine, went to the dentist and had the start of a root canal done. And, I just want to throw a plug in for my dentist. Most of you are out of the area, I suppose, but listening, but I go to a Dr. Ayuvone out in Panther Valley. And I got to say, that guy's pretty good. He's a father and son team. Both are great dentists. The Dr. Iovone Sr., I believe, was in the Navy as a dentist. Dr. Iovone, his son, I think just basically is taking over the practice, I believe, as his father comes in on occasion. Well, comes in, to do take care of patients, but not as much as he used to. So the son's kind of doing it. Really, really good dentistry there. They can do just about anything. Yeah. Oh, if they can fix my teeth. Oh, my heavens. Mine have been so messed up from, well, I had a head-on collision when I was younger, so that busted up my jaw, and oh, my God, my teeth. And my father and my uncle had a soda business when I was a kid. So, instead of water, I drank soda. Yeah, so you can figure that. I'm amazed I'm not all, fillings. It's amazing, but there's still spots they find to work on, and they're good guys and relatively pain free as dentists go. I'm very someday I'll have to do a story about the very first, well, no, the second dentist I went to and what that was like. Oh my God, when I was a kid, long ago. It's when they had drills that were turned. Yeah, they turned the drill. The dentist had oxen, yeah, down in the basement, yeah, walking around yeah, kind of like a turnstile. Yeah, yeah. I think they got like 4 revolutions an hour, and they'd be grinding on your teeth. Oh my God! But no, not Dr. Iovone. Very, very good people, and he gives a heck of a really, I think, fairly pain-free Novocaine shot too. Or I guess they can use that gas people like. So either way, but they're good. They're again Panther Valley, New Jersey. Dr. Ayuvone. Iuvone, I think, I believe. Okay. Anyway, enough said. I just thought. But so if I with my lips aren't quite unnumb yet. Okay. Okay. Well, here Millie's Itinerary, 6:20 p.m. On many a night, somewhere around 6 or 6:30, I might do a webcast from my home studio. Let me clarify that studio bit real quick. I wouldn't want anyone to think that I have an up-to-date, state-of-the-art recording studio in our little bungalow along the river. No, no, no. In reality, I just sit in a tiny corner of my bedroom surrounded by not stacks, but rather big dusty mounds of records and CDs. Some of my playing devices are bunched onto a fold-out card table. The one turntable I own rests on the steamer trunk at the foot of my bed next to an extra CD player. The microphone isn't hanging from a ceiling boom hanging in front of my face. No, it rests on my lap during a show. I've got to be careful to keep it pointed away from my belly. I do get pretty loud bouts of stomach growling, and actually it might be fun to get one of those growls to be heard around the globe now that I think about it. Sandy piles her Taekwondo equipment in one corner of the room. It's a pretty big pile of uniforms, helmets, punching bags, bamboo fighting sticks, nunchucks. I'm not going to tell her to move it. I like living. Right. But besides, the pile keeps the echoes down. My bed is next to the martial arts stuff, and it's always loaded down, the bed that is, with record albums, story notes, dirty clothes. Records and notes on scrap paper and stacks of empty scrap paper fill up the rest of the room. And scrap paper is very necessary, so I keep a bunch of it handy all over the floor. I have a wobbling folding chair to sit on. It's not the most impressive studio you'll ever see that I've got here, friends. Heck, I don't even have a proper on-air sign that lights up whenever I activate my microphone. I mean, I really don't. Right behind my chair is a beat-up old throw rug. I use it to protect various computer wires and audio lines that run here and there from turntables and speakers around the room. The old rug also helps me to not trip as much as I might do without it. It's also a convenient resting place for my co-host, Millie. Right. We have a pretty tight door between the studio and the living room. I always close the door prior to almost every show I do. That way Sandy can watch television uh, without having to try and hear her favorite shows over my foolish rants. With the door shut, her shows won't bother me in the least. It's a win-win situation. I don't think my microphone can hear them at all. With headphones on, I can't hear a thing except whatever is going out to my tiny audience. Generally, Millie will stay in the living room with Sandy and watch America's Got Talent. That's their favorite show. Some evenings they'll watch one of those detective shows or a wildlife thing about reptiles in Brooklyn. You know, yeah. Millie and Sandy both really enjoy Storage Wars. I can faintly hear them both yelling or barking at the bidders to give up or bid higher. Sandy will often boo at the excessive prices the various stars wind up paying for a locker. Millie has a certain way of howling that sounds like booing. It's a boo, yeah. It's a sort of a cross between a howl and a growl. They really get into the bidding part. I can always tell when there's a long commercial break. I can feel the bungalow floor shake as Sandy runs for a quick trip to the bathroom. While Sandy's in the can, Millie decides it's a good time to drop in and see what I'm up to and maybe say hi to the web folks. On my end, I'll hear a kind of muffled shuffling sound as Millie uses her snoot and willpower to push on the lower corner of the studio door. Sometimes the door is closed tighter than normal and she has to get one of her front paws in on the action. It usually only takes a few seconds and the door obeys her commands and opens wide. I can feel the vibration in the room as the door opens wide as possible and slams into a wall shelf full of videotapes and CDs. There's a brief pause and then, well, Her Royal Highness enters the room. The second I hear the door bump, I'll put my free hand down and let it hang loose behind me. In about 3 seconds, a wet, slimy tongue touches my fingers. Next, that big fat nose of hers gives the rest of my hand a gentle shove. With that, Millie gets a nice pat on the snoot. She then works the top of her head under my palm for a longer pat, or 2, or 3. After that, she'll sit a while until the song ends and I start talking. Any show snacks I may have brought into the studio are usually swallowed whole by the time the first song ends, but Millie doesn't seem to care. She doesn't seem to be coming in for a treat. She simply wants to nuzzle my hand and maybe take a nap behind me. I'm happy to have her there, of course. I'll usually tell the listeners that I have a guest and then ask Millie a question or two. She never answers. No. About all she does is sniff the microphone. She licked it once. I've never gotten her to bark on the air. No. Many humans will clam up when faced with a microphone. I guess dogs do it too. I'd love to get her to bark. Bassets have so loud a bark that most of my fans could hear her, probably could hear her without the microphone. Maybe she'll get over it someday and treat us to a concert. I don't know. Of course, once she gets to barking, it's going to be hard to get her to clam up. I love when she's in the studio. Honestly, I do. The only problem is that when the studio door is open, Sandy's television show gets into the microphone. It can be a bit distracting for me if I'm in the middle of a story. Since I'm wired to the soundboard and trapped to my seat by a certain hound, Sandy has to come into the studio to shut the door. At that time, Millie decides to go see if anything new, like, well, maybe a snack is in the living room. The two of them leave me behind to sip my cold coffee and talk a bit. There you are. By the way, I don't do that show anymore. These YouTube videos are pretty much my way of entertaining now. The show was honestly just way too expensive to operate. I'm not made of money, and it was $200 or $300 a month, and that's about 2 or 3 more hundred more than I got. So, and we did sometimes get YouTube. I'm not YouTube. GoFundMe donations, but it just wasn't enough, and also the audience count was pretty low, so you couldn't really advertise and be fair to your sponsors. So I had to let it go, sadly, because I really, really enjoy being on the air playing records. But maybe someday when my ship cometh in. Okay. Anyway, we'll see you later, friends. I thank you kindly, and share these videos with a friend if you would. Okay. I'll see you later. Bye now.